Oh my gosh, we are live again. It's been like, I think 3 weeks maybe. We did like 2 in 1 week, and then we had a festival, and then we had a break. So anyway, we're back. Yeah, I got a whole crew though tonight. There's 6 of us on this call. It's pretty fun. I think we're gonna do something that we haven't done in a while, where it's kind of like us talking about beer, but also hopefully you guys asking questions at home or wherever you are on the internet tuning in. So I'm joined tonight by some industry people as well as 3 breweries. You guys know who I am, but in case you don't, it's Mike from NJCB. And to my, well, I don't know if it's right or left on when you guys see it, but next to me is Al, and Al's going to say hi and tell you who he is.
Well, I'm Al Gattullo, and I host a craft beer cast on AM 970 out of New York. We talk local beer, New York, New Jersey, but we also talk national stuff and news and small business and restaurants and bars and all kinds of good stuff. And then which would be my left, your right, that would be Alexis Deegan, where I'm on Sunday nights at 11 o'clock Eastern, in case anybody cares. Alexis does a little show called Alexis Drinks. She used to be the executive director of the New Jersey Brewers Association, but now she drinks for a living and she has fun with it, right?
Yes. I have so much fun with it. I just get to talk to people who make beer about why they make beer or alcohol. Fun fact, we have a couple of wineries and distilleries lined up, so that's going to be some fun times. So that's a lot of fun. I just, formalized my drinking problem, which I'm okay with, and I think the rest of the world is too. So
I mean, there'd be no reason not to be okay with it.
Right. Check it out. Right. It's over there on the Facebooks and the YouTubes. Below me is one Jason Goldstein from Icarus. I am drinking his beer tonight. Actually, I think it's a collab with maybe. Who knows? We won't look at it. Jason, take it away.
Hey, yeah, so I'm Jason. I'm the head brewer, owner of Icarus Brewing in Lakewood. I have been a card-carrying member of NJCB for probably the last, 8 years or so. So, I have one of those original cards somewhere. Really get my value out of it. Biggest benefit, you actually get to know Mike, to drink with them, random holidays.
It happens.
It happens. To my left, you got Jason and Cole from Garden State Beer Co. So go on, guys.
Thanks for the intro, Jason. Yeah, it's Jason Stairs, one of the owners here at Garden State Beer Company, and our new brewer, Cole Branson. Adam Kernow, some of you may know, moved on to Nashville, Tennessee a few weeks ago, and Cole's been taking over and doing a great job. And it's actually allowed me to get back into the brewery after a few years out of there because Adam was taking care of it, and so I've had a lot of fun being back in. And we might have a little bit of background noise because we're actually in the brewery, so I apologize for that. I'll try to control it with the mute, but it's great to be here, and just thank you for having us. Yeah. And I'll pass it over now to Tim Pewitt there at Wet Ticket Brewing.
Thank you, Tim Pewitt, Wet Ticket Brewing. Mike, thanks for putting this together. I more frequently see Mike at local restaurants or the Costco, so it's good to see in a true formal setting here. And just excited to be a part of a great opportunity to talk about beer, why we like beer, why we enjoy being around the people who like beer. It's all good. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, of course. This is what it's all about, is just bringing people together and just kind of having fun talking about beer. We have a good group of everyone here. We've been doing these live stream things, and it's been fun, but they've been kind of about a specific topic or a specific release that like an NJCB collab or things like that. That I got it, it's interesting. We never did one of these streams, just me and Jason from Icarus, when we do the Build Me Up Butternut thing, a collab. But, at the same time, we've done a couple of these other things here and there, and it's it works out well and it's fun. So number one, if you're all paying attention and you have questions and comments, please leave them there. We're happy to pop them on here, like the emoji that our friend Mark just posted. But we're happy to kind of leave whatever you guys have going on out there to get moving. I guess the question we all should probably answer is, what are you drinking to start? And I'll start, and it's Monday, and I drank a lot on this past week. So I'm taking the day off, and I'm having my turmeric and ginger tea because, it's Monday. But for me, it's Monday. But, some of you guys are probably drinking, and I don't blame you. So, Al, what do you got?
I made a trip over to Wet Ticket over the weekend, picked up some Hefeweizen. It's good to have a brewery 5 minutes from your house. So thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. It's always helpful.
Always great to see you.
Yeah, it was good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Alexis, what's that Icarus you're drinking?
So it's the Fruited and Flying, and there it is. The reason I was confused is because I've got an Icarus, set up next time. Where's my camera? Which is the Heavy Reel collab.
Ooh.
So, it's fruity and soury, and so I thought, oh, that's Heavy Reel. I was wrong, but it's delicious. So, how about you, Jason? What are you drinking?
So I'm drinking a amber lager, Big Bark from Live Oak. Obviously, all about the Crispy Boys. This is phenomenal. Vienna style lager from Live Oak. They're out of Austin, Texas. My tap manager was just down there, brought me back a bunch of stuff, and I'm really loving this. Yeah.
Garden State.
I'm having a Galloway Golden, which is, just a touch short of a pale ale, but maybe more than a blonde. It's got some mosaic in it, so a touch of fruitiness. It's my favorite summer beer that I've been drinking this year in the brewery. Cool.
I'm having our Nor'easter. It's our New England IPA. Just a really good, well-balanced, a little bit of hop. It's got kind of a juicy flavor. Just really good.
How about you, Tim?
I'm drinking my go-to, my trolley hopper hazy New England IPA, and it's great. I did a little event this weekend, and somebody asked the question about the haze, and it's been so much. I've been doing this for so long, homebrewing for 25 years, that if you used to make a beer like this, you were embarrassed. You made a mistake. Now you're putting your hops in the second or third day after fermentation to hold your haze, but it's all good. And I continue to love to me, the biggest thing about brewing right now is the different hops that are coming out.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so fun to play with all the different combinations.
I mean, I did pick up some of these lagers from Icarus because you can't do this to me and not make me want to have to drink this. So I got a case of it for myself. So I drank way too many. And then when I picked it up, I got the lime version, which was delicious. So that was fun. Yeah,
that actually sounds really good. I do have a question for the three of you guys down below. When you're not drinking your own beer, what style of beer do you guys gravitate to? Is it, if you're primarily making IPAs, do you gravitate to somebody else's IPA, or do you gravitate to a more traditional style like a Pilsner or a lager or a stout or something like that? I guess, Jason, you go first, and then we'll go across.
So for me, the first, if I'm walking into another brewery, the first thing I'm going to order is a lager. I tend to drink more Crispy Boys than anything else. I tend to look at how a brewery's doing based off their lagers. I love everything about the variety within that one style. Nothing you can cover up in a lager. Just pure, unadulterated flavor, in my mind at least. And again, at the end of the day, I could probably drink 20 lagers. As much as I love big, juicy IPAs, what I brew all the time, as much as I love big Russian Imperial stouts, pastry stouts, huge sours, whatever else, I have a few of them. Or I can have 10 Pilsners.
Right.
Okay.
I'll take that segue and say I'm right there on the same page. I love to look for a pale ale or something lighter just to see, and not unless a rough day, then I'll go for maybe the higher IPA one, depending on the day. But generally, I like to have more than a couple beers, so I shoot for that pale ale. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't even always have that. But then I'll go to the IPA and see what that's like. Yeah.
Right. Tim? I'm sorry, Cole. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So for me, I used to really
just keep drinking
towards the the hazy IPAs and that was really my favorite. But now I find that now that I'm working in a brewery and I have a lot more beer around me all the time, I'm drinking more of it. And kind of like Jason was saying, it's hard to drink a lot of IPAs. It's way easier to have a couple like a cream ale or something and clean up at the end of the day and finish up. So I think just because I've been taking in more beer, I've been leaning more towards the lighter stuff lately.
So you don't drink barrel aged barley wines all day long? I mean, isn't that what brewing's all about?
Does anyone do that successfully?
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. It's just people obviously bring beer to the brewery all the time, which is usually a New England IPA, but especially this time of year, I'm trying to drink something 5%, 5.2. If I'm out, in the backyard having a couple beers, I can't drink a 7 or 8% beer. They're just one and done for me if I'm out, sweating. I like to have a couple, so I usually gravitate more to the lagers and the lower ABV beers.
Yeah,
we always there's a right beer for every time and place, right? If you're having a steak dinner, you're not going to have the same thing that you're mowing the lawn with, right? But now's good lawn.
I mean, there's definitely a time and place, but it's the same thing. Like I love IPAs. I'm a big fan of the West Coast IPA, big fan of the hazy stuff, sure, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like you have one, you have two, and now your palate's wrecked depending on the hop profile. And by the third or fourth one, it's a little bit different. So I mean, that's what happened. I went out with a couple friends on Friday. I went to like 5 different places, and everywhere I ordered a beer, I got a Pils or a lager or a Kolsch or something. And at the end of the day, they had a dark mild. I'm like, well, that's perfect. Like, the sun was going down. It was a dark mild to end the day. Like it was great. So there's lovely styles for everything. But apparently some people stick to 10% triples. And I mean, if Dave,
we'll go to quads at that point.
Yeah, if Dave, that he's not lying.
Right.
And by the way, you could drink barley wines all day. If you're at the brewery and you're planning on sleeping at the brewery, you could do that. That's not a problem.
Sure.
I mean, who hasn't done that?
Right. There used to be a lot over there. I've gotten through many of them. How about how about sours? Because we did have this Jason loves sours comment, which we all know the answer for that. But how about sours? How do you guys feel about like the new approach to these like juicy sours and these like fruit cocktail almost sours, or like the Goza style and things like that? Let's maybe talk about that a little bit. Tim, maybe you can start.
Sure. I guess we should do some, because when I'm at the brewery, I can't tell you how often people bring it up. We have not made any type of sour at Wet Ticket. It's something we need to do. I keep thinking about doing, and I think part of it is me. I keep trying them. I really haven't had one that I really truly enjoy. Mm-hmm. So it just might be my personal preference, but it's just something you got to jump in the pool at some point and just try.
But
don't you have that watermelon beer that like everyone freaking loves?
Yeah. We sell a lot of it, but it's not a sour.
No, I know. What I'm saying is you have the foundation for something fruity and juicy, and Yeah,
we did. We actually did. We did. Well, we have a little pilot system. We did I guess it was last year. We did a 10-gallon watermelon ghost.
That's right. You did do that, and I enjoyed it. And I'm on record. I did mention to Tim about doing a sour, but also,
yes,
isn't it more of the facility itself? Like, aren't you afraid that because you have pretty much everything in one area that you're afraid something is going to happen to that while you're making other stuff? Is there ever a fear that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're doing the traditional sour and you're hitting it with the real lacto, I mean, you could basically any of the hoses you use, your brewing equipment could get infected. But I think what most people are doing now are the kettle sours. And maybe you guys who are doing sours can spend a couple of minutes, telling me what you're doing with your sours. Are you doing them as kettle sours?
Yeah, well, if I can jump in, it's funny, we have one behind us right now. For years, we put off on doing it. I find that a lot of times the most requests that come in, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? A lot of the time I could say, well, because that's not beer, and we're a brewery. depending on how you want to look at it, sours are beers gone bad, and they have their place, and then there's seltzers, but are they really beer? Like, it's all this stuff on the fringe. But, so like you said, you got to give into it sometimes. And the sour, we were concerned about the contamination if it's in the fermenter. But, yeah, we do a kettle sour. We usually do it around Valentine's Day, something, a little fruity for Valentine's Day. But it's also a nice thirst quencher in the summer, so we decided to make one now. I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but with COVID ending and everything kind of opening up, it's a lot of catching up. It's just like catching up and keeping up. Last call. But wanting to do stuff different too. So we have the kettle sour, and what we do is we mash it in and then put it into the kettle. Instead of boiling, we bring it up to pasteurize it, maybe 170, and then bring it down to, 85 or something degrees, and pitch the lactobacillus. And now we've been monitoring it for a few days. When the pH gets the right spot, then boil it, put in the hops just like you normally would, and then go to the fermenter and pitch yeast. So it's contained, it seems, and it's reasonable. And we're still trying to get the hang of that, of what goes well with it. The first one we ever made was a raspberry we put some toasted oak in it, which really kind of was nice. And I haven't liked them since, so that's what we're going to do again on this one. We're going to put in some more berries and raspberry, whatever we can find, but then some oak in it, and see how that turns out for the summer. But yeah, like you said, you got to try to do those things sometimes. But
I couldn't hear what you said.
That's great.
Shut up, Siri. What about you, Jason? What do you guys? You do some sours out there?
Yeah. So like back when I was in brewing school, I actually took like a brewer's tour at Cantillon. I met with Jean Bonroy, like the famed head brewer there. Gave us a private tour, everything like that. And I asked him if I was drinking line cleaner, because I really thought I was just drinking line cleaner. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever had. Apparently no, it's just goose. And I hated everything about it. However, since then, I've learned to appreciate brewing sours. So yeah, we brew plenty. They're not my favorite style to drink, as like Mark Graves alluded to earlier. However, they're just fun to brew in my mind. So it's because to me, brewing is always about learning something new, trying something new. If you're doing the same beer over and over, like you might as well just get a job at InBev or something like that, because you can brew Bud Light all day. I'd rather brew something new, something fun. And for me, that can be sours, whether it be a kettle sour, whether it be a true sour, whether it be we got a grisette going right now that's a little funky, barrel fermenting. We've got, we've done some. We started messing with Philly sour, so we're souring in fermenters as well. I don't necessarily fear the sour. Most of the bacteria you're using, like you said, you're pitching your lacto at 85. Why? Because at about 120, it's dead. Any hops, it's dead. I'm sorry, are we not using caustic and 190 degrees and everything else in the world? Nitric acid, peroxyacetic acid. The amount of things that we do that kill every souring bacteria, I don't fear it.
You just can't be sloppy like with any brewing, though. You know what I mean? You have the tools, just gotta put them in place there.
Yeah, lacto will survive way less than anything else we have to worry about.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think of the difference between your traditional sours and your kettle sours? Do you prefer one over the other?
So the more traditional sours we've done aren't like I would say true sours as much as they're barrel fermented, so they're funkier than they're sour.
Okay.
We've done plenty of like barrel fermented saisons. So I would never call it really a sour, but it's in that same vein. So the similar things pitched. I mean, if you want a true sour, you have to go somewhere like Redford in the next state, or now I guess Kane's side project, Field and Oak. I don't have enough experience in that to say anything we're doing is a true enough sour.
Right.
It's very interesting. When we made you mentioned the Philly sour yeast. When we made the NJCB collab with Old Heights, the Calamansi beer, it was using the Philly sour yeast, and it really the sour yeast. And I'm not brewing. I don't know how to brew. So I mean, I know technically how to brew, but I don't brew, so I don't know nothing about that. It's double negative on purpose. But the whole point is like that yeast itself. That beer has changed so many times in the last few weeks. I tried another one of them the other night. It was completely like way different and less like lemon as it was more lime this time. Like it's totally changing, and this yeast is pretty interesting to the way it works. So that's one of those interesting things that I noticed from just trying that beer, and cool that you guys brought that up. And there's cool history with that Philly yeast too, so that's pretty fun. I like that. How about oh, here we go. This is a good question. Thank you, Facebook user who didn't authenticate through StreamYard or YouTube. Were there any breweries that were influential to you guys as you started brewing? Well, I can't answer that because I never started brewing. Actually, the first batch of beer I made was with Bob Olson when he was home brewing. So that was also the second to last batch I made. So that's the only things I've ever done in home brewing stuff. So I'm going to skip that one. And I'm assuming Al and Alexis want to pass on this one too, right?
I mean, I have the brewery that was influential to me when I started drinking beer.
Yeah, let's go with that one. You start.
So for that, it was Avery and it was White Rascal because my boyfriend at the time was not going to let me drink a Blue Moon. So that was amazing. It was like, what is this? He's like, that's beer. I was like, no, this is delicious. So Avery White Rascal's my gateway beer.
First one for me was Sam Adams because oh God, I've only had one. I promise. Interestingly enough, Jim Cook was an early advertiser on a radio show that I was on back in 1992, and he actually remembered when I interviewed him. Years later, he remembered the radio show. He remembered what we were doing, and he was proud to be a sponsor of it. I mean, we were barely scraping the barrel with these. We had like froze fruit and dial S for mattress or whatever it was, leave off the last S for savings or whatever it was. And he was the first brewer to come on board and actually buy advertising time. And I never forgot that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to drink Sam Adams because this guy is supporting us. And here it is. So that was kind of the first beer. And then the second one was Blue Point years later before AB had bought them out because they did some really, really good stuff there. And I love the fact that their brewery was a tiny little shack in Hauppauge before they moved to their big facility. And they put out some great stuff. And they had an indoor-outdoor operation. So they were brewing the beer in one spot and then had to bring it outside to the tap room across a long driveway. And in the wintertime, they said it was insane trying to get beer back and forth. It was crazy.
Interesting. Interesting.
But to the real question.
To go forward on that, Jason Goldstein, you want to start that one?
Yeah. So whereas like Blue Point was actually the closest brewery to me growing up, Captain Lawrence was probably the biggest inspiration for me. Growing up in New York City, there weren't many breweries at that point. I used to go out to Captain Lawrence pretty much every weekend. They had lines for their releases before other ads probably even existed, before line life was a thing. I'd go there and ask 1,000 questions of each of the brewers there, because again, there was no one to ask. There was no one, I was an 18, 19-year-old getting into the industry, so I was trying to learn something. And the only there, Scott Carr was the only person who knew that went to brewing school. So I'll go to brewing school. So that probably influenced me the most in the craft beer world.
That's great.
If I'll jump in next, and I grew up in Pennsylvania, so just through college would drink Yingling, right? I mean, just sort of basic. But I'll say when we were trying to get started here, we started in 2012 when we heard the law was changing. That's when we tried to get started. It took us 4 years until it actually happened. But during that time, Cape May had opened up and down there on Saturdays just from 12 to 4. So every Saturday we'd go down 12 to 4 and just see how they were doing it. Because they started even right before the law changed. And then went on from there. We were trying to open in Egg Harbor City, and Jason Chapman from Pinelands was also trying to open in Egg Harbor City. We were from the same homebrew club. And they were a couple years ahead of us, so we could always like, oh, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? And they were great, like a big brother brewery for us, and they were really a good help. So that's that camaraderie that's great amongst the breweries that help each other out like that. But
Yeah.
SARS, we're all pretty local.
Yep.
How about you, Tim?
Well, for me, it was probably, I had been doing this for so long as a home brewer. So, it was probably not the breweries, though we probably visited just about, everyone's brewery that was open prior to us, or as many as we could get to see what you were doing, see what the layout was, where you put the cold box. I mean, don't let anybody fool you. I mean, it all matters. So that was helpful. But, what was really helpful for me, I was doing this so long, was, some of the home brewing writers, you can, all their different names are out there. But all those books became dog-eared for me. I mean, that was my Bible. That was what influenced me, and whatever beers you could get. I mean, I remember trying to, there was no real craft beer. I mean, having a Bass Ale was, wow, this is good. I mean, it has changed. It has come so far. It's just, so fun to, sit here and have a small part of it in our little slice of the world. So, it's just all been amazing to me.
For sure. It's actually what Al, you mentioned Sam Adams. And when I was like 14, I was stealing my grandpa's Sam Adams when he would leave him there and go back to Florida. And he'd be like, oh, you whatever you want. So it was like, blackberry brandy, red wine, and Sam lagers. And it's still a beer that is there for me. But influential breweries for me to get into it, like Alexis said, Avery was not one of them. But oddly enough, Le Fin du Monde and Sierra Nevada were for me.
Okay.
Right. Not Le Fin du Monde, sorry. Whoever. Oh my God. Blank. It's right there. I see it, and I'm drawing a blank.
Unibrow.
Yeah, Unibrow. So, yeah. So I would drink those in college, and some, of course, the shitty adjunct lagers. But there's a place for shitty adjunct lagers. There's a place for good adjunct lagers too. Yeah, regardless, that was kind of one of those influential things. And then, Jason, you mentioned about Jersey breweries. We had another question, and this is one that, I can never answer this question, but if you guys want to, feel free. What New Jersey brewery has been most influential to you? For me, it's been all of them. So thank you, all of the breweries, for existing, because NJCB wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jersey breweries. Or not necessarily influential, but perhaps even like useful. Like you guys mentioned, Garden State, you mentioned Pinelands, like, that kind of stuff.
So yeah, I think we hit that sort of them as the most influential when we were opening. But I love what Tim said before we opened, when we were filing paperwork, right, and trying to figure it all out. Yeah, I went to every place that I ever could. And then ever since we opened, I have people that come in now, oh, you've been to this place or you've been to that? And I'm like, no, I'm always here.
Yeah, right.
I don't get to go to those places no more. I don't get to do it. But that's why I love Beer Fest. And then the Atlantic City Beer Fest was awesome, because that's the time you get to see everybody. That's the time you get to have everybody's beers. Right. Everybody's there. It's easy. But yeah, I don't get out to the other breweries like I'd want to or used to be able to. Right? That's sort of you start a brewery, that's where you're going to be a lot of time, probably. Maybe.
Right. You also mentioned the Pinelands thing. I remember I had an event, or I had NJCB already, and I got this random email from Jason from Pinelands, and he was like, oh, I'm going to meet you over at this bar. Where are you going to be? And I told him, and he was like, all right, I'm driving. So he comes up and he meets me there, and he brings me a ton of his home brews, and it was like a month before they were about to launch, and he gave me, still have it over there, the commemorative like gold Pinelands little taster glass. And he's like, you bring that glass to the brewery. I'm like, I'm not bringing it to the brewery. It sits over there. I'm not bringing you a glass to the brewery. That's like for special occasions. But it's one of those things like, 2012, 2011, things like that were popping. And that's when the start was. It was awesome to be part of that throughout this thing. And now with 130 breweries. But anyway, that's a whole nother side topic. How about you, Tim? Are there breweries in Jersey that you've like done stuff with, influential, etc.?
Like I said, I visited them all. I can say what really kind of pushed me over the edge to really pursue it is my wife and I had visited other breweries before in other states. My wife and I were down the shore. We sat down and had a pint of boat beer. And the bartender said, "Oh, it's just made right up the road." So it was like Sunday at 3:00. So we went, we figured out they were going to be open until like 5:00. We ran over there and just the atmosphere, being there where the beer is made, and it kind of, it brought me right back to my roots, where it really kind of that whole feeling started to crystallize for me. It was in my garage. We would throw up the door. The wives would have, a cheese party or a Tupperware party. Well, when that happened, my phone started ringing because we were going to make another batch and we were going to drink the last one. So that's just that whole atmosphere of kind of being with your people and talking and enjoying beer. Al sees me once in a while. If you ask me what's the thing I love the most about owning the brewery, is that when I'm there to walk around, say hello to everybody, and just talk beer. I mean, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the smiles. I mean, it's like when I'm there, I feel like I'm Santa Claus. Everybody's happy to see me, and they've got wonderful, nice things to say. I get a lot of input from them on what they're like, what they don't like. And, and we don't have TVs at the brewery, which is a big thing for us. People are sitting there talking about beer and having fun.
I agree. And I've never seen an angry person at your place, Tim. Never.
We don't allow it.
Right. And I've been there plenty of times. And the great thing about Tim, when I saw him Saturday night, they're doing a thing now where you converted the back of your building, where basically it was just a loading dock. They've now converted it into kind of a little bit of a beer garden. You put a tent out there and you've got bands playing. And so every Saturday night, he's got a different band playing for a couple of hours. And the community has really responded. That area of downtown Rahway, probably 5 or 6 years ago, was dead. And it is jumping every Friday and Saturday night now. And part of that is from Tim and his brewery. And it really has revitalized the area as kind of that community talking spot, which is fantastic. And I love it.
For sure.
Thanks, Al.
How about you, Jason, Icarus? Do you have Jersey breweries that you are inspired by?
Of course. So when we were first starting, I probably had to have asked Mike Kane 10,000 different questions, and I'm not sure why he took the time to constantly answer every single one at length. It could be the most minute things about like a keg deposit, about how you're setting something up. He had no problem. I had a landlord who had issues about, he didn't want to rent me because it smells at a brewery. I asked him, "Hey, Mike, anyway I can bring by my landlord on a brew day?" He goes, "No problem, bring him by." Day before first canning, my ZOM just, which is how you test the CO2 in a beer, just isn't working. I'm freaking out. We're about to have our first canning. This is how we launch our beer across the state. I text him, and he's like, "Well, I'm not at the brewery right now, but I can drive back over and get it for you." Like, wait, what? But we ended up finding one a little bit more local, but like, he was always, ready and willing to help with anything, which is why I've tried to be like that for every other brewery since then. Everybody that asks me a question, I try to have a full lengthy answer for them, help them out anyway, just because, that's how the industry is and how people much bigger than me did it for me.
That's great.
Nice.
I'd say Mike from Kane.
And it's definitely awesome to see that. And obviously we've seen all the different collaborations from all the different breweries and things coming through. God, this question, love this. So, for those tuning in from home, does anyone have any allergies or certain ingredients, beers that they do not do well with, but they still make and drink them? I know the answer to that, at least one of those. I think it's interesting. Back in the day, I'll even tell this story. Like, I discovered that I was allergic to certain strains of hops, but what it did was, like, Simcoe hops specifically would make me sneeze every time I would get I would have like Flying Fish's Exit 16, I think, when they made that, the original batch, when it was like the tall bottles and it was straight Simcoe hop, I would just start sneezing. And I found another one. It was like a Weyerbacher Simcoe beer, and that would make me sneeze. And I discovered it was like that specific Simcoe hop. It wouldn't happen to other things. And then once in a while, hops make me sneeze, depend on like a 2 or 3 sneezes, and then I'm done for the rest. And so I can have more of it. But very interesting. I don't make beer, but I started drinking some Simcoe ones after that, and it still worked out well. I didn't sneeze after that. So it might have been like that crop year or something like that. You know, you never know. But how about you, Al? You have any allergies to?
No allergies. I had an aversion to sours for a long time, and then after my cancer and my chemo and radiation, I went back to drinking a sour again, and I loved them, and I've not looked back since. So maybe my taste buds changed. I don't know, but now I love sours. Can't get enough of them.
Nice.
Alexis, how about you?
Nothing. I can drink it all. I do.
Hence, Alexis drinks.
Yeah.
Is that Alexis drinks some of the stuff?
Right. No,
Drinks.
Alexis drinks all of the things.
All of the stuff.
And I'm like almost scared to say I don't like gin because when I started at the NJCB, I told people I didn't like IPAs. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but you tell a brewer that you don't like IPAs, all they do is feed you IPAs. Don't know if I didn't realize it was a challenge I was throwing down. I was just trying to be honest. So
We'll get you to like it. We'll figure it out.
No, I do now.
So wait,
Because
what?
of them. I was held hostage. It was great. But yeah, I drink everything.
No beer ingredients make me sick.
No.
But Southern Comfort does.
Anything make you sick?
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't pinpointed what it is, but I know it's something about if I have like more than 10 beers, I get this pounding headache. So
10's the limit.
I'd say 8.5.
yeah, well, we're gonna get to the bottom of it though.
Right.
You should. That sounds like you need some
I think
research.
it could be too much soap in the glasses, or rinse your glasses better.
I'm gonna keep trying to clean the glass. Yeah, it's the sanitizer.
Yeah.
I would say when you're on that 10th one, just push through and go for the 11th and see what happens.
Make it all better.
That's it.
I mean, Jason, how about you?
So like I'm uncomfortably lactose intolerant.
Oh no.
Like you don't even want to be on the other 5 screens if I'm drinking a lactose beer. Like, but at the
now
same
I kind of
time,
want to see it.
look at a quarter of my tap list.
Right.
Like, you know, one of my favorite beers that we brew is milk in it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you need to be more forward than that.
Right.
Like, whether it's, you know, we have our pastry stouts, we have dessert IPAs, dessert sours, and they kill me. Like, definitely dying inside. But like, they are delicious. So,
Yeah.
you know, they're for everybody else.
But I do find it remarkable that you have that, and yet you still make a lot of that stuff. I know that it's you know, for your brand, it's the popular thing, and you would think, all right, I'll make 1 or 2, you know, because I like other stuff that I'm not, you know, intolerant of. But I love the fact that you've pushed through it and kind of like, no, I'm going to keep making these because they sell and people like them, and you know, and that's the end of it. I mean, it's not, you know, you're not just going to be adverse from it because you're having the personal issue with it.
Like, I honestly, at this point, I probably brew just over 5,000 barrels a year. I probably drink maybe a half barrel of that. So I really have to worry about the other 4,999 barrels, not my one. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think it is hard. Like I have semi issues with lactose too, but in beer, I think for me it doesn't hurt me badly. So like I'm fine, but apparently and in cheese it's fine. So that's why Krishna wants us to make some cheese pilsner. But yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. That sounds terrible.
Just know that Krishna's picture is definitely at Icarus.
That's true. That is it.
Yeah,
I think that was for that event. That was probably for Butternut release early on, perhaps. But yeah, it's part of an interesting question. Very interesting. And now apparently I'm getting solicited to homebrew with Dave. He's going to make 10% triple.
I've brewed with Mike before. Have fun, Dave.
Yeah, I usually just leave.
Like he brings a nice soup though.
At cleanup time, you're like, this was fun. See you later.
Well, in the middle of COVID, when you wrote me, you were like, yo, did you make that soup? I'm like, fuck, I need to go find 40 pounds of butternut squash on a Tuesday night. I'm like, sure, I'll bring it over on Wednesday. So I brought it over on Wednesday. I was up till 4 a.m. making you soup. It's lactose free though. Lactose free.
Nice.
But it's definitely fun. So we do have a question from a YouTube comment, so I'm going to pop it up here, and it also might bring into like let's take the question first, and it's specifically for Icarus about what you have on tap. But I actually think the question should be how do you handle your tap situation at the brewery, in terms of like, do you always have, obviously everyone has their flagships kind of year round and things like that, but do you have other one-off and versions of things and unique things? Does your distro out of the brewery excluded, just on-prem? How do you handle like some of your test batches? Do you have things like that? Do you have one-off versions? Maybe we can start over with Tim and you can talk about some of the stuff and then like what you have currently on tap and coming down the line, things like that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We have a little 10-gallon pilot system. We haven't been able to play around with it lately because, we got a space crunch. If we brew something, we almost always have to now make 20 barrels of it, and we almost always have to can it too. So we only got so much space and so many lines. But, one of the things that, being a small brewery that we do, and that keeps it fun for me, like whether it's the trolley hopper or this week we have a fresh batch of not only the watermelon, but one of my favorite beers is called Hop Died. It's got Sabro, El Dorado, and Mosaic. But, we ran out of a little bit of El Dorado. We didn't have quite as much as we needed. So we made some substitutions, and it was just getting carbonated when I left this afternoon, but it tastes great. It smells great. And that's what keeps me involved and keeps me pumped. It's like if you're going skiing, go down the same trail every day. I was getting to the same thing. Well, I guess I got to make a sour, but it's things like that keep it fun for me. It's going to be a great batch of beer, and it's going to be a little bit different than the last batch of Hop Died, but I'm going to enjoy it.
That's great. And do you normally have a mostly like light hoppy kind of profile aside from like the watermelon being on and things like that? Do you often have some of your darker beers like your oatmeal stout and things like that on?
Yeah, the oatmeal stout, we always have the Imperial Oatmeal Stout. We always on tap. Right now, we actually have a barrel aged version of it that's been conditioned on coconut that has been doing very, very well. We
one that was bottled also, correct?
Yes, we have the barrel aged and the bottle version. So we try to keep it fresh. We got our pills going.
Awesome. How about you guys, Jason and Cole? What do you have?
To keep it the variety in the tasting room, we have the smaller system. It's a 1-barrel system that we started with, and once we switch to the production system, that's what we try to keep those, like you said, the regular beers on tap. And then I told Cole the deal is the homebrew system, or the 1-barrel system, can be his homebrew system. He can make whatever he wants, take a keg home, and if it's good, we'll put the rest on tap. So that's where he'll get to have fun. And but that's how we keep variety in the tasting room and keep trying to keep up with distribution and the flagship beers and stuff. So that's somebody was saying something earlier about doing sours. I think Jason, you were like doing sours and just different things to keep it fun. And I'll tell you, just even Tim, as a home brewer, that's why you did it, right? You could do anything you wanted. And I'll just tell you what, and maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. When you got started with the business, all of a sudden your partners were like, no, you need to make this again and keep making that and make it the same. No, don't change it. Yeah. Right. So it kind of the business conflicts with that fun hobby, but that's how we keep it going is with that pilot system, and we get to play a little bit on the side.
That's awesome. And I was at Icarus on Saturday, and I think Alexis may have been too. So we saw the tap list. But I'll let Jason take it away.
So at all times we have 24, 25 different beers on tap, and that's rotating a lot. There's no one beer. As much as you can say we have a flagship, we have yacht juice. Nothing's on tap all the time. Everything rotates every single week. There's 4 or 5 new beers on tap. And that's, between releasing 3 or 4 cans every week. Also, we have a pilot bright that we tend to condition different things on. Right now, we have the iLife Lime that you talked about before. We have Pina Colada Summer, which is a pineapple conditioned version of our Invincible Summer. So it's just a straight up Pina Colada that still tastes like a juicy Northeast pale ale. If you're coming this weekend, I would definitely say try the Policis, which is our new dessert stout, released with Brewery Sticks out of Massachusetts. That's phenomenal if that's your thing. Otherwise, last week we had 11 different lagers on tap. So
yeah, it was great.
That's my jam. Like that, I would just go straight down the list on. Don't divert from that. But no matter what happens, like with 24, 25 different beers on, you're going to find something that you love and a lot that you want to take home.
By the way, the other thing that Jason does and does very well is I love the fact that you spin all that vinyl that is sitting in there. That's awesome. That's worth the experience itself. So if you want to check out some very cool vintage vinyl, take a ride down to Icarus and check it out because it is worth it just for the spinning of the music.
Like a lot of that started from my collection, and then since then, like all my taproom staff have just brought more in. They've all joined it, knowing that they just want more and more records to spin. I love everything about all that vinyl.
Yeah, and I know there's also everyone doing now. You have an outdoor space at Icarus in front of the brewery, which is wonderful. Garden State, you guys have an outside space, correct? And the inside, but you have an outdoor space.
We have a large inside, but the pandemic forced us to open the outside, which is something we always wanted to do anyway. We always had a little area, but then the outside only forced us to make it bigger, and it turned out really nice. We're on the shady side of the building, and it just seems to no matter how hot it is outside, it just seems to be 10 degrees cooler back there. So, but we also have the big tap room where you can still spread out. We never really run out of room. But and we have we were talking about the beers on tap. I forgot to mention any of them, but yeah, we have 16 on tap now, and it's spring, so we were talking about it earlier. Try to go to those lighter beers. We have our Pops Wit that comes out always in the spring, if not longer than that. We have our Hot Blonde. And what else we got? The Golden on the Saison. So we our spring beers are out, the nice, easy summer drinking beers. But we try to do something for everybody. So we even have the Imperial West Coast IPA plus the Porter that we try to keep on. That no matter what you like, there should be a style here for you. And
are you guys you're still canning when you can? So there's some package to go, correct?
We just last June canning for the first time was supposed to be our big thing that we were doing. And then we found out June 15th, we had 2 weeks to open the outdoor area. So we did that and canned. And that's been working well. We said we have the cans to go indoors, and it's also they're out for distribution. We're actually canning this Friday. So if anyone's in the neighborhood, stop in, come and see us. We work with Ironheart. They're a great group of guys out there. Can't afford our own canning line yet, but it's fun to get started and get things in the package.
For sure. How about you, Tim? Al mentioned having the big outdoor space, and I haven't seen it yet, but I saw pictures of the tent, and it looks pretty big. You have that in the inside and all that going on still? Yeah,
when the weather is nice, absolutely. It's a 40 by 40 foot tent. Without that tent, that is on the sun side. You absolutely roast out there. But now even in the late afternoons, we open up on Saturday at 12, and it starts to fill in. And generally by 5, 6 o'clock, that every table can be taken out there. It's been a great thing for us. I don't know what's going to happen now in November because the way the ABC has looked at this, they basically, you filled out the form and they just said, okay, the town is going to approve it. Well, the town loves us. So, that was a no-brainer. It's not going to be so easy, I don't think, when we all, even with the landlord's approval to extend these and keep them permanent. I think it's not going to be as easy as it was the first time. But, we love it. Like Al said, we have every couple of weeks, we've been having music back there. We've had some really nice crowds, some very talented musicians. It's been fun to be a part of. That's
great. So for those that are involved in the on the social side, keep writing your Congress people and legislators about letting these things last kind of forever. There's a bunch of things that Alexis can probably talk about that might be out there currently, but Al mentioned it earlier off camera about some of these things. So maybe you guys could talk about what we should keep an eye for as consumers currently in Jersey to write about.
Well, since I got the bill number wrong and Alexis got it right, because I'm, either I'm dyslexic or the one beer made me,
so
whatever.
Close. You were like one.
I was this close.
And you were in the line of it too. If you look at it on a keypad, you were there.
Well, I was talking last week with Assemblyman Robert Auth, who's up way north in North Jersey, and he was he wasn't a sponsor of the bill, but he's a big proponent of it. He thinks it's important that not only bars and restaurants continue the to-go cocktails because it's been very successful for them. He wants to see a lot of these other things permanent to help out brewers, whether it's home delivery, whether it's shipping within the state, which I think is for you guys, I think would be a huge game changer if somebody like me who's up North Jersey says I want to buy some beer from Garden State and have it shipped to me as opposed to having it delivered. That's a big game changer because that means you're not sending a guy up and wasting gas and all kinds of stuff. You can package it right at your brewing and send it out. Or is it something where it's, all right, this is another added thing that I have to put on. Do I want to do it or not do it? I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, I think in terms of the in-state delivery, I also love the fact that I'm just on my side. I think having the option for these things are all the important part. And I think like things like the tents outside for permanently and cocktails to go, I think having the option to do things that whether you implement it as the brewery or not, I think having it is there. So
I think
I think we learned a lot during the last year, of some of these restrictions maybe are unnecessary and we were able to get by with different things. And I know we're going to go back a little bit, but I hope we don't go back all the way. Like, let's not take for granted what we learned over the last 15 months. Let's hope that there's some common sense to carry that forward.
I kind of think the genie's out of the bottle now, right? I mean, it's out. It's been going on for over a year now. You guys have adapted to it.
You stuff that back in.
Right, exactly. How can you do that? Especially the consumer who maybe hasn't visited Icarus or hasn't gone all the way down south to Cape May or whatever and said, no, I'm getting beer delivered to me. I like this. I want to continue to support it because not only do I like the beer, but I want to help the small business. The other part of it with the to-go cocktails, perfect example was the other night. A friend of mine just recently had hip replacement surgery, and him and his wife couldn't go out, and we were going to go over to visit them. They're in town, and we were over at Paragon Tap and Table, and I said, hey, can we get a couple of Southern Bells to go? Yeah, no problem. Boom. They put it now. The bags that they use look like an IV bag, which was hilarious. I'm like, just give me the needle. We can just, go right in. They said there was supposed to be a straw, but they couldn't find it.
Like a Capri Sun, like a large adult Capri Sun.
Exactly. But it was great. They were able to make the drink.
On a pole with wheels? I mean,
that's how that did. That would have been perfect. But
just straw right in.
Right. But the great thing about it was we were able to bring a cocktail to somebody's house without having to bring all the ingredients and make the drink itself. I think that is something that is a benefit to people who, maybe they want to get dinner to go and they want to have a cocktail with it. So I'm hoping that, the two sides can come together and pass this. I think this would be huge.
Yeah. Well, and I think you saw, right? It's not just about beer. And I mean, we love it, right? We want to see the beer things pass. And just so for everyone's reference, it's A5848. S3915, I think, is the most recent bill that we're talking about. But like, you saw like towns that relaxed their open container laws. You saw towns that relaxed, what was allowed in their downtowns and what was allowed on their streets. And these things that helped every small business. And what you didn't see is what a lot of the doom and gloom people had said would happen if we got a little bit loose. You didn't see people dying in the streets from alcoholism or, drunk driving or any of these things. The sky didn't fall. In fact, it carried a lot of small businesses, a lot of New Jersey owned and New Jersey supporting businesses through an incredibly difficult time. And it's like, well, if this can help these small businesses survive the leanest times, imagine what it can do for our economy as a whole in good times. And like, it's not just beer. It's the cocktails to go. It's those creative partnerships between multiple different businesses doing multiple different things that like with this ability to just be creative and like kind of free flowing without all of these antiquated restrictions based on, 1920s concepts of what the world should be, was really helpful to everyone. And so, hopefully everyone can see that. And the legislature can like just, understand that that's just business forward in a state that sometimes is criticized for not being pro-business.
Right.
I think there's
These are some really good pro-business.
There's just a lot of room for improvement. I mean, I had the privilege of living in Germany for a year, and I, growing up here, land of the free and all of this and that. But then that's the first place I ever was that I saw a guy that had a bottle of beer run out of a bar, jump on the light rail with his beer, and nobody batted an eye. Right. He bought that beer. He was going to finish it, and he had to go home. Like, who did he hurt, right? I mean, I looked at that and, oh, my God, we could never get away with that.
Right.
How is that? So again, I hope we learn that there's a lot of room for improvement and growing in this, especially in the state and the country. Maybe
with a lot of things, like you should be able to promote the fact that your beer isn't someone's cheese. I don't know, it's crazy pants.
Right.
There's a lot of low-hanging fruit.
But the simplest thing that the lawmakers should see is this generates tax revenue for the state. So you're making money. It's not as if, I mean, look, they're talking about how they have a surplus of money even after they borrowed money because the tax revenue is so good. Well, why was that? Because bars and restaurants and breweries and other local businesses were still making money during the pandemic. They were getting, business to come in, whether it was ordering it and having it shipped to their house or, buying it and going to pick it up somewhere. So the state was making revenue. Don't you want to continue to make revenue? I mean, that's, kind of a no-brainer, right?
And I think that's, something that I'm sorry, I'm like on my little pulpit. But like, one of the things that the governor and supported by the legislature kind of essentially said last year was that selling beer directly to customers, selling cocktails directly to customers, selling, all of the produced alcohol in the state directly to customers was an essential part of the alcohol production business. And that's kind of been up for debate.
Alcohol is essential.
But forget alcohol, right? Because they could have said, well, you're alcohol producers, so you can still produce. But what they said was, you're alcohol producers who sell directly to customers, and you can still sell directly to customers. Right. And like that's kind of a critical part of the debate that has been happening when it comes to these regulations. And it's like, no, you've said it. You've said it in a national emergency. Selling directly to customers is an important part of our business model, not just for breweries, but for distilleries, wineries, meaderies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So, and the state has benefited from the tax revenue that they got by keeping that type of commerce open. They also benefited from being a lot more relaxed about the relationships between craft beer producers and food establishments and food trucks and all of these things, and the artists that come and perform, et cetera, et cetera. So I just think that they have to take a look at that empirical evidence that shows the state benefited.
Alexis, the evidence is out there. Have you been to a winery lately? Well, they do everything that we want to do. It's a winery is such a cool place. They can do anything they want.
And that's
and the thing that drives me insane about this is if you ask, and I've asked a number of them, what is the difference? Why can a winery, affiliate with a food truck or have events and all this stuff? No, what is the difference between a winery and a brewery? They have no answer.
No, I have the answer.
They will not give you a straight answer because they don't have any logic.
No, I have an answer. Wineries are required to be attached to 3 acres of land. And that is a big barrier of entry. That's a big barrier of entry that breweries and other alcohol producers don't have. And it creates a spatial distance between their competition. It's not a good answer, but it is the answer.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
And also, wineries have been around a lot longer, and they've had decades of this fight. They fought for this a long time. So when we're here for 3 decades, we're going to see some other type of producer is going to be like, why can breweries do all these things and I can't? It's like, because for 30 freaking years, we fought the ABC tooth and goddamn nail. So
you can curse. It's allowed.
Oh, okay.
It's 9:30. I don't think there's any children listening.
No.
I put the mute on to do my cursing.
Yeah, it's after dark. We're good.
There's a lot of things that we're hoping will change. So hopefully those that are still listening and tuning into will keep writing and keep pushing. And as the stuff comes down, it will obviously be on NJCB and everyone else's social stuff.
Yeah, pay attention to what your legislature is doing and tell them what you want them to do. They have to listen to you.
They need to look at the states around us and see what they're doing and how they're doing it. But there's a lot of catching up to do.
Look at the Hudson Valley.
100%.
Seems like some slow learner. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not in politics. A lot of slow learners out there.
There's a lot going on.
We'll just keep making beer. Alexis will take care of the rest.
I can't. It's not me anymore. It's not me, but it's okay.
But she can help us push it. So that's
get the message out there, right? Yeah. There you go. Let's get the people who like beer on the march, right?
I do have one quick question for everybody, if you guys don't mind. Tim, you just recently put a seltzer on tap at the brewery, and I know Jason, you had mentioned about seltzers being kind of that gimmicky kind of thing, and I know Jason, you don't have a seltzer on tap. Have you collectively the 4 of you, have you seen people coming to the brewery and saying, well, I want to bring in my White Claw, or I want to bring in my I want something different, and that has spurred you to kind of in your instance, Tim, to make a seltzer? What would be the reason behind making it? Is it to give an alternative to people when they come in? Is it something because maybe they want something that's gluten-free and you don't make a gluten-free beer? If you guys
all the above, Al. We have people come in all the time, right? I have a member of our group. They don't drink beer. Do you have anything else? Plus I wanted to try it. It seemed simple. I talked to a bunch of folks. I had never made one, so it was just another road to go down. And it's 4-2. So I can if I want to have a couple, I can have a couple, and it's just. This is like an interesting experiment, but it's doing well. People are drinking it. So
I had a taste of it the other night. It wasn't bad.
So for me, it's something I'd love to experiment with. I don't have tank space. I haven't had time to really learn. If I'm trying something new, I dedicate all of my time to it. I read every single article on Pro Brewer, Homebrew Talk, everything in the world. I want to know every little bit about it.
Right.
I know such a ridiculous amount about sours despite not really drinking the style, because I don't want to accidentally release a bad version. I've just never had the time for seltzers. I am so jealous of places with better beer laws like New York, being able to have guest taps. I fully understand why people come in and want a seltzer. I wish I could put on another brewery seltzer, someone who's doing it phenomenally, just to have that gluten-free option for them when it's just not something that's my expertise.
Right.
I'm sure if I put enough time, effort into it, I could learn it. I could probably make a great one. I just could also spend the time on other styles that we're already trying to master.
Yeah. And I feel like eventually we'll make a seltzer. I've been thinking about it a lot, like you said, but you want to put the time into it. But then there's so many other beers that we want to do too that we're working on. So But eventually, if the people keep coming at you with it long enough, it's like, all right, Uncle, we'll make you a seltzer.
Right. Well, it's one of those things where it seems
there's
like
just so many options. There's too many options.
Right.
It's the
But
problem.
but in Jersey, the problem is you can't have somebody bringing in a can of stuff. I've talked to a number of brewers
Oh,
where
no,
they've
we tell them.
yeah, where they've caught people and they're like,
In the parking
listen,
lot, we tell them,
Right.
but not in here.
I've seen so many times in our parking lot cleaning up at the end of the night. You see empty cans
And
of
there's
White
always
Claw,
that
everything
too,
got crushed in the parking lot, and it's like
maybe we shouldn't broadcast that information. Can you edit that part out? But
They were tailgating at a brewery. That's a concept.
right.
it's a public parking lot, not my problem.
Yeah.
But the thing is, from a market share value, seltzer has exploded over the last 2 years, where you see all of these people jumping into the game. Truly and White Claw being the first two, and then all of a sudden, everybody seems to be making a seltzer. I like it as an alternative at a brewery. It's not something that I would necessarily drink, but I like it that if somebody else wants that and doesn't want to have a beer, that it's something that you can do. I wonder if you guys ever worry about, I may lose a little chunk of revenue because somebody's coming with a group of 8 and 3 of them drink seltzers, and you know what, we don't have a seltzer. Okay, well, we're going to go somewhere else.
Al, what it sounds like is you need to educate these drinkers better.
yeah, and that's where they need to just learn. There's also the other option that is better.
Press it into the ground, Al. Pour beer down their throat.
Yeah,
Again, there's very different times. I understand people who are drinking seltzers. Like, I have no, as much people traditional beer, this traditional beer, that.
Right.
Like, the people that are drinking seltzers might have never been interested in a beer in the first place.
That's true.
It's a whole different market than what beer is. Is there overlap? Yeah, there's definitely overlap. However, these circles are still separate. I love seeing what places like Bolero are doing with was it Broad Street or
Broad Street Seltzer, right?
What Magnify is doing with their seltzer works. They're putting out world-class stuff, separate and included in their brand, and that's inviting such a new market into the craft beer world. No different than when hazy IPAs became a thing, and all of you guys are making hazies just the same as me. You go back 5 years, everyone's like, oh, hazies are a fad, this and that. They're not real beers. There's adjuncts in it, not real beer, and all we've heard from hazies now are all about all the rest of craft beer as well. So hopefully seltzer opens up eyes for people and gets them into a brewery and gets the conversation started. No different than this, an NJ Live conversation.
I like your shameless
just
plug,
like
by the way.
Yeah,
just getting it going. Thanks.
I can with him.
Jason, the seltzer advocate who refuses to make a seltzer. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's a really interesting topic, but I love the idea. I was just in Brooklyn this past weekend, and I noticed the same thing, and I've known it for years. The laws, like other Jason said earlier too, you can do something in another state that you can't do here. Like having the ability to have a guest tap, I love that. Like I went to a brewery and they had their gluten-free option, they had their seltzer option, and they had another cocktail and even wine from a brewery, a winery that was from the state. And it was pretty cool to be able to have that. Now I got a dark mild, but I'm just saying it was still, the option was there. If you didn't want a gluten-free, if you wanted a gluten-free beer, you pick it out. It's pretty cool to be able to have that.
The cool thing when McKellar was at Citi Field, and it's a shame that they closed, was the fact that they had 50 taps and 25 of them was theirs, and the other 25 were all guest taps. And you never knew what you were going to see, on that tap list, which I thought was really unique and something that, I would love to see New Jersey do, because I think it would be cool if Icarus could sell, 4 or 5 other, somebody's beer. Tim could bring in, somebody from outside, someplace that he's been to, and, can bring in a couple of taps from that. I know it's one of those things, wishful thinking and down the road, but I think it's something that, maybe in the next year or two, something that maybe somebody in the legislation can, introduce. I think it would be a great idea.
It would be really cool if we like brought back the Jersey Fresh designation and put some teeth behind it. And then if you were a Jersey Fresh designated brewery, you could also carry other Jersey Fresh designated products. That'd be really cool.
Like I know Al and Mike, you've both been to Interboro in Brooklyn.
Oh, what a place!
Like Jesse's amazing person, used to be the head brewer, obviously Carton. Nice.
I went there.
When you go to Interboro, not only do they have, from like a kombucha, a seltzer, like they have different guest taps. The most beautiful thing to me is if Interboro does a collaboration with another brewery out of state, not only will they have the collaboration with brewed elsewhere on tap, but also maybe some guest taps of that place as well.
Right.
That's the coolest thing to me, to be able to actually experience that at your local place, because breweries have these connections. Like we work with everyone else, and to be able to, hey, I work with this one brewery up in Massachusetts, down in Virginia, wherever else, bring something back with us.
Yep.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Right.
I mean, I love that.
And what he can do over at Interboro and the amount of space that he has is remarkable. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, that whole setup, the catwalks and all this other. And I'm like, and he's doing booze and beer and cooking. He's got a kitchen. Yeah, I'm blown away. I'm blown away.
Little Amaro cocktail to go with my little whiskey.
Is it called Lexical?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
For a different reason, but it's
while we're on the topic of the guest taps, I feel like with collaborations, that's even complicated without the guest taps, because the way we've done it, the few that we've done, is we'll brew one here, and that's what we serve here, and then we'll brew one at the collaborators, and then that's what we serve there, versus making one batch and serving it at both places. But we felt like we couldn't do that without the guest taps because it wasn't brewed here. Right?
You can't.
Yeah, so even guest taps would make the collaborations easier. You could have the partners coming in and friendly breweries. They would be so fun.
It would be
fun. And if it's like New York, though, like Alexis said with the Jersey Fresh, in New York, almost every brewery is a farm brewery license. When I lived in New York, I worked at a distillery. They're under almost the exact same law for farm distilleries in New York. Unlike New Jersey, where you have to physically be a farm to be a farm brewery, in New York, you just need to order a certain percentage of your grain hops from New York State, promoting in-state agriculture.
Right.
And with that license, not only is it a reduced tax, but also you can have any other New York brewery, winery, distillery available, promoting other in-state businesses.
Jason, I don't pull these things out of my ass.
Oh, I understand.
Well, I was at a New York winery, and I was like, I saw on their thing, and they were like, beer flights. And I'm like, excuse me, what? And they're like, oh, yes, let's pull out our beer tender, Mike, and we'll have him talk to you and, talk about all the beer that we have to offer. And I was just like, and my friends who live in New York were like, why is your head exploding? And I'm like, because you don't understand how amazing this is and how, we just can't do it. But there's infrastructure here that could make it possible.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Jason, real quick, you've done a bunch of collabs with Killsborough on Staten Island. Are you able, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I saw this, is he able to put your beer on tap in Craft House or no?
I believe yes.
Okay.
So I know when we worked with Gun Hill, the Bronx, they were able to take our beer and sell it.
Right.
Whereas obviously I couldn't take their beer and sell it. So I assume Craft House is a liquor license. Again, liquor license means a totally different thing in New York State, New York City. But so either way, they could sell it regardless of anything else, because they have everything on tap there.
Right. And that is one of the things we have to take into account, is that a liquor license in New Jersey is wildly different than anywhere else. And there's historic reasons that it is that way, and there's historic reasons why it's so restrictive, all of these things. But like you look at Pennsylvania, and there's like 7-8 different types of brewing licenses and like different permissions about like what those breweries can do. Even like some brewing licenses must sell food, some brewing licenses cannot sell food. It's interesting to see what's going on in our neighboring states.
And there's and I'm assuming there's a different price level for each one. If you're only selling beer, it's a little less than the one that you're selling food. And
if you go into Philly, there's breweries with I'm blanking on which one, but a $500 plate of nachos is the only item on the menu, and it says right next to it, "Please do not order it." we legally have to offer this.
Right.
So,
Question. How many people order it?
Craft
just
nachos.
to order it. Like, I want to know what goes on a $500 plate of
with
nachos.
pork belly.
if it's one, it's too many. But legally, they have to offer. So every state has their terrible end of beer laws.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to base on the worst parts of other states. I'd rather base on, we see nice things in other states. Let's, be better.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I did see some Alaska laws and felt less bad about my life at that point. But
Oh, like sunlight. Yeah. I don't
I
like
mean, yeah, sure. But no, I mean, Alaska beer laws are like real bad. There's also historic reasons for that. Anyway.
Well, I think at this point we should probably wrap it up, and everyone can say where to find them, because we can still keep talking about things that we're going to try to change. But at the same time, all people want is a Kalashnikov seltzer. So
I almost ordered that just for the
I
name.
mean, Kalashnikov seltzer.
There you go. That pours dark. That pours dark. There you
That'd
go.
be the
That
weirdest.
sounds worse than our
seltzer.
April Fool's seltzer.
That sounds terrible, but maybe a caviar seltzer. But yeah, but no, seriously, thank you guys for coming on. And as we depart, maybe we'll start here with Tim, and you can tell us where to find Wet Ticket, all that kind of stuff, and pass it over on the way out of here. So,
Where can you find it?
I mean, like, where can we find your social and all your stuff?
WetTicketBrewing.com. We're on Facebook. We usually try to post something every week with kind of, what's going on, new releases, new distribution partners, or, distribution spots for big releases. So, yeah. We're not probably as good as we should be at social media. We're better at face-to-face communication. We're
So where
trying.
can we do that, Tim? Just kidding.
Yeah, so go check them out. And then and Jason and Cole, where can we find you guys on the internet?
Yeah, we got the Facebook is where most of the stuff is, with GSB Co. or Garden State Beer Company or GardenStateBeerCo.com, but it's all connected to the same thing. We try to get the information out there, but come see us if you're down in Galloway outside Atlantic City. We got one of the biggest tap rooms in New Jersey. I'll throw that out there. I don't know. We got a big one if you want to socially distance still, but even if you just don't like people, don't want to be near them, that's good too. The beer's all good. Want to give a shout out to Adam down at Big Bottoms. He's watching right now, and we wish him the best down there. But anyone who comes out, the community and everything, that's the best part about this. It's not a bar, it's more of a community place. Come have some nice beers and meet some people, and that's been the best part of it throughout. If you're in the area, see you, Chelsea. They're closing up on us. Good timing. Thank you guys for having us. This has been great talking to you all. I hope to do it again sometime and see you guys around.
For sure. Awesome.
Cole says hi too.
Hey, Cole.
So you can check us out, Facebook, Instagram. I don't think we're on TikTok or any of those sort of new sort of things yet. I don't even know if we have a website these days, but Facebook, Instagram. We're out of Lakewood. You can see us on tap. Pretty much anywhere in the state you want to see us on tap. And if we're not there, you can always reach out to us, and maybe we'll get on tap there. Most liquor stores, we home deliver in, I think, 18 counties. So go to our web store. We'll probably deliver right to your house. You won't see my face, but if you want to be at the brewery at 5:45 in the morning and see someone who's still half asleep brewing, you might see my face.
For an extra tip, can we request you?
You can request all you want.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. Alexis, your turn.
Oh, right, me. I'm at Facebook, Alexis Drinks, and Instagram, also Alexis Drinks, and 210. That's it. Or just like stalk me out. I'm usually at some brewery or the Blue Monkey. Yeah.
You can catch me on Facebook, facebook.com/AGCraftBeerCast. I actually do the Twitter at Al Gattullo, and Instagram is Gattullo. It's going to be tough to spell, but it's GATTULLO.
we can do this too, and now people
Oh,
can
There
figure
you
out how
go.
to do it. Wait, I have
If
to
you
take
put one
off
T
that
or one L, you're never going to find me. So there you go.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much. You know how to find me, NJCB, whatever, all of that. New Jersey Craft Beverages, if you want to find out about other things that are not just beer, meaderies, all that kind of stuff. NewJerseyCraftBeer.com, social, all that. It's all out there. Tune in next time. And thanks. See y'all.
Peace.
See you guys.